Okay, well, I don't understand why sometimes it works and oftentimes it doesn't work in terms of like maybe it's yeah, I don't know. God, it's super annoying. Okay, now it says excellent connection, so it should be back. Concurrent viewers. I don't know why. Okay, you guys should... It should be up now. Let me see. Should be up. Trying to see if I can hear me up. Okay, so we're back. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I try to do AV1. It can't let anybody see it. Then I switch it to HEVC. Then people can watch. Then it's like, oh no, I want to transcode in VPO9. What are we transcoding in now? Let me see. Are we back on AVC? No, it's still transcoding in VPO9. So I don't understand it. Clearly the... Clearly it's some kind of... clearly the streaming in AV1 is still a beta thing, and I think it has to do with YouTube's transcode server infrastructure. I have a feeling that they're not capable of ingesting a certain number of AV1 streams. I think that's what it is. So it's like if YouTube's operating at like peak capacity, they don't allow AV1 for some reason, because I think it's because they transcode to VPO9, and I guess that's stressing their server infrastructure on the ingest side. So they just kind of drop the frames, or they don't drop the frames because I send the frames successfully. Like right now, literally, I checked my internet connection, 0 dropped frames. But the thing is, YouTube, their server, I guess, for whatever reason, can't keep up with the VPO9 transcode. So, due to a certain threshold on the server load, so it just kind of like doesn't show anything to anybody. And that's why it just looks like it's buffering the whole time. So it's kind of annoying. I wish they would hurry up and get this working. But it is what it is. Eventually, it will probably work itself out. I don't even know where I should go. Should I, like... Oh, this way. I like this game, actually. The more I play the Jedi Survivor game, the more I actually like the game. I really do need to finish Hogwarts Legacy, though. I guess we're here now. So, I don't know what's up with my dashboard. Oh well, we should be good. Yeah, it messed up. No one could see me again, so I had to revert it back. It's weird. I basically stopped the AV1, changed it to HEVC, then people could see me for like 30 seconds, and then for some reason YouTube stopped it again, so then I had to stop it again and start it again on HEVC, but it's yeah, I don't know. I was able to do 1 or 2 successful AV1 live streams the other day, so I'm not sure what's going on with it. I don't know why it doesn't work all the time. It's definitely a problem on YouTube's side, though. Because as soon as I switch it over to HEVC, it works. It's something to do with their transcoding. They accept it, and then they're supposed to convert it to VPO9, so that viewers who do not have the ability to decode AV1 can still view it. So that's why. It's really weird, though, because YouTube used to actually allow you to view AV1 footage. I don't know why that you can't do it anymore. as a viewer. Used to be able to do it as a viewer. But now they want everyone to watch using VP9. I think VP9 is Google's standard, if I'm not mistaken. And that's probably why they want people to use their Google thing. Now what? Oh, we want to go here? The Jawas are around. Oh wait, I missed this. I didn't get this. Well, that's cool. Wanderer. Finally got a new outfit. Am I wearing Wanderer? Oh no, I'm wearing Hunter pants. I don't have Wanderer pants? Oh well. Okay, well, it's working now, so that's good. So what do you guys think of the Computex show? Everybody on the previous stream was saying that this is going to be the one that everybody forgets. What was probably the most interesting thing that was shown off that you're looking forward to? For me, it's probably AverMedia's new capture cards. Oh, okay, that's the shortcut. Okay, that was not what I wanted to do. That was totally not what I wanted to do. Gen 5 M.2 coolers. I hope that they're vastly improved, though. The thing is, most of the ones that I saw still had that tiny little fan that's extremely loud. So I don't know. I do want to see more Gen 5 stuff. MSI's making a USB 4 card, but I think it's just a Thunderbolt card. So that was interesting. I'll have to turn this off. Or figure out how to turn that off. But for me, it's the new AverMedia capture cards. You've got M.2 water blocks. The coverage you saw was mostly PC cases and fans. You thought the Asus cable system was cool. A lot of people are doing cable. Oh, you mean the one where it's on the back? Yeah, where the connector, where all the power cables connect on the back side of the motherboard. I actually think that's a really good idea. The only problem with that is you need to have a much wider case, or the motherboard, like the sheet of metal that the motherboard mounts onto would have to be somewhere more toward the middle of, or further inside the case, as opposed to all the way at the back of the case. So, I mean, yeah, it's a good idea. I just don't know how. I don't know if it's going to get widely adopted. The M.2 water blocks, though, like, how does that work? Because how do you overclock the M.2 drive? One thing that I never did with my Gen 5 drive that I still have, the one from Micro Center, I never removed it from its stock housing, its heatsink, and I never tried to use it with the Gigabyte Aorus heatsink. That's because I have it on the Aorus Elite, and the Aorus Elite has a inadequate stock heatsink for that drive. If I was using it with the Master, I would be able to remove it and use the Master's giant heatsink. Whoops. Well, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, you know what? I guess I have to go down here. Oh no, this is the way I... Oh no, there's more stuff over here. No OCing? Well, what's... Oh. What are you supposed to do with the water block, though?
These buildings are ancient. Older than anything else we've seen on Kobo.
It keeps the drive cooler. Well, what about the giant heatsink though that comes on the new? You know the ones that go with the new motherboards? Like the one that the MSI Ace has. Uh-oh. Oh no. Actually, that was ideal. I'm glad that I didn't survive that. I'm glad I had to start over. I didn't want to have to, like, run all the way back. These modern games with their really quick checkpoints. It's not like the old Mario games. Hey, Matt. How has the Discord been? I've noticed there's a lot of activity in the Discord. I've been trying to monitor it a little bit more after you told me about the... Supposedly there was some kind of drama or something that happened a few weeks ago. But I noticed that there's a lot of people in there on a regular basis now. I'm not even sure, is everybody in there that's usually in the voice channel, are they all subscribed to the YouTube channel, or are they just people who got invited, like, in the non-standard way? Let's see, okay, so something, I'm not doing something right. There's something I need to do up here to close that. There's got to be some object or something. Oh, you brought them in there? Were they from the... How did you meet all of those guys? Are they from the Ancient Gameplays Discord? Do the other larger YouTubers... Do they actually go in their own Discord? Or do they just use the Discord to post stuff? Okay, clearly we have to do something with that. Ancient Gameplays is not an Apple fan. Oh yeah, not what's the name of that guy? I forgot his name. Actually, I don't even know what the name of the guy from Ancient Gameplays. I know he's from Portugal, and man, what was the? Not an oh, it's Paul. That's right. Paul's not an Apple fan. He'll join his own voice chat before his streams. Does Ancient Gameplays doesn't do streams, does he? Isn't he just uploads? I think he just does uploads and maybe shorts. I know he's based out of Portugal, and I think Not an Apple Fan is based out of the UK. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Honestly, I feel like if I wanted to grow my channel more, I probably should not do live streams that much, and I should probably focus more heavily on just video content. Because YouTube is weird. I thought I could use YouTube the way that Twitch streamers use Twitch. It doesn't really seem to work that way. For some reason, like YouTube, it kind of makes sense to me because live streams tend to be very long format. And that's why some of my videos recently have just been me taking like a section from a live stream, cutting it, and turning it into a clip, and then uploading it as a separate video. I kind of think that's probably the way to go. The YouTube algorithm it literally does not recommend live content ever. like ever. You basically have to be subscribed to the channel to get and have the notification for when I go live. Otherwise, the only way that somebody could discover the live streams when they're live, because trying to go and find a live stream after it's, you know, like in post after it's done, that's kind of pointless, to be honest. And I get that, it makes sense. But I don't know, like discovering me like while I'm live, like right now, it's basically impossible. YouTube is just too saturated. Yeah. So like I guess like if I was more serious about growing my channel, I would probably be more like Ancient Gameplays and just do more video content, because that's just kind of how this platform works. It's kind of unfortunate because I do kind of like doing live streams. I do like engaging with the audience in real time. I feel like a lot of the value that I bring to the platform comes through the discussions that I have with you guys. You know, like that's where I think most of the value that I add to the tech crowd is really where the value is. Yours is the only live stream you watch and you enjoy the tech talk. Yeah, see, I feel like that's kind of it. Like, I feel like people, the audience in general, gets more value out of the live streams. It's not that my videos don't have useful info, like the actual uploads. The videos can be useful, but I just think that the videos, it's weird because it's either that you either try to be more, you try to go in depth more technical, but then that kind of makes it harder to make your channel grow because only the real like hardcore tech enthusiasts would then watch those videos, whereas, you know, mainstream gamers and that kind of crowd, they wouldn't really find much interest in those videos because it's too technical, right? But I don't really want to just do surface level content because the surface level mainstream content is already, there's so much of that on YouTube that I feel like I'm not really adding any value there if I do that. Like I can tone the technical level of my videos like way down and make them way more I guess approachable for the average person who's not super into technology. But I don't think that's a good thing because I feel like that makes my channel just another typical YouTube channel that doesn't really do anything different, if that makes sense. I do like it where I go more in depth talking about a specific topic related to the PC DIY space. And I think you guys get more value out of that too. I think it's pretty accurate when I say that. YouTube actually recommends live streams and videos from small channels. I found your channel by the 7900 XT. Discovered you streamed because it recommended me the Kingdom Hearts 3 stream. Interesting. That's very interesting. So, well, I think both of those, the 7900, the coverage I did on the 7900 XT was around the time when I did the Kingdom Hearts 3 stream, because that was around December. Yeah, that was the December time frame, if I remember correctly. Because Kingdom Hearts 3 was prior to the what are they talking about? Oh, I just saw something in the Discord. It was prior to Forspoken, and Forspoken was January, and that's how I remember. I'm keeping track of the games based off of what year they released. I know Kingdom Hearts 3 is not 2022, but I'm thinking basically 2023. I've only really shown games that were released in 2023. Yeah, I haven't played any of the older games, like obviously like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail is a 2023 title, but I haven't really gone back and played those other games that I said I was supposed to finish. So that's why I'm trying to at least finish Jedi Survivor. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. Maybe I can't go through here, or there's some switch somewhere that I didn't locate. Yeah, that's interesting that you discovered the channel. Well, you discovered the live stream in a different way. Because I was thinking, what do you guys think? Should I try to make my platform more like, should I dumb down the content and make it more like Daniel Owen? Like Daniel Owen, he grew his channel really fast. Like that's a guy who, well, I kind of need to take back one of my earlier statements. So Daniel Owen has done a good job, but he has been doing he's been doing his thing basically since 2020. So I said he did it in like a year. No, he's been doing it for a while, and you see how his videos have improved, and you can see how he's had gradual ramp up. Like my channel's been around for a very long time, but the reality is I never bothered to try to actually do anything with my channel, literally until the Intel Arc GPU launched. Like, and that's the truth. Like, if you go back and look at my channel, like a lot of the older videos aren't even tech related. I always did like tech videos on and off, and then I would do like card games, video games, all kinds of random like gaming stuff for a long time, and that never really went anywhere. So I never really took the channel seriously. Let's put it that way. The Intel Arc GPU launch was actually what was sort of the rebirth or the starting point of this channel. So kind of when I think of how like other channels, like Ancient Gameplays has been around for a long time too. Daniel Owen got really lucky though with the algorithm, but he has been doing this since 2020. So technically, realistically, when it comes to like me just covering tech as the primary theme and focus of the channel, I've literally only been doing it since the Intel Arc GPU launched, because I did not cover the AM5 CPU launch from AMD. I didn't cover that. I got that system, built that system. Then the Intel Arc GPU came out. It launched the same day as the RTX 4090. But I wasn't interested in the RTX 4090. I wanted the Intel Arc GPU for a very long time. I had literally been waiting for the Intel Arc GPU since like a year before it ever released. Like it was back in 2021 when I'd been tracking the Arc GPU since 2021. So when it finally came out last year, I was like, okay, I'm gonna make some videos about this. And then I realized, yeah, there are actually quite a few people that are interested in this thing. I'm not the only one. So that's kind of what started it. So this channel really, the channel as it is now, actually did start from October 2022. That's kind of like the rebirth point. So my starting point is October 2022. Even though the channel's been around for a very long time, it's got a lot of like pointless videos that aren't even related to tech. But yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. What I noticed is YouTube growth on YouTube, subscriber growth is very exponential. So it's like it's really, really slow in the beginning, but then once it ramps up, you grow pretty quick. Because just to use Daniel Owen as an example, he hit 100K around the time when I hit 7K subscribers. So when it was basically the end of last year. So around, New Year's, he hit 100K, and I hit like 7K subscribers around New Year's. But look at the difference in growth. So he is currently at, I think, 125, 126 last I checked. So he's gained like 25K subscribers since the start of the year. This so far from year to date. And I've gained like what? I'm at like 7,800, something like that. So I've gained like 800, and he's gained like 25K. So if you do the math, it's kind of a ratio. You can kind of figure the growth looks kind of linear, but over a long span of time, it's actually exponential. So that's the reason why, like, once a channel hits like 1 million subscribers, like I remember when Gamers Nexus first hit 1 million subscribers, to go from 1 million to 2 million is actually way easier and doesn't take as long as going from like 0 to 1 million, or even like 100K subscribers to 1 million subscribers. So like even Hardware Unboxed has also been around for a number of years, and they are getting close to 1 million. But I'm pretty sure once they hit 1 million, the amount of time it took them to get from say 200K to a million. That's way longer than from going from 1 million to 2 million. So that's what I mean by it becomes exponential. So, because like look at how big like Linus Tech Tips and those larger mega channels are today, right? Like 4 million, close to like 4 million subs, I think, like 3.8 or whatever the number is. And then they have multiple channels. Gamers Nexus, they are what, like almost 2 million now. So, Paul's Hardware even has like I think almost 2 million. So, it becomes exponential, is what I'm saying. And I don't know. I've thought about like trying to do YouTube like hardcore. It's I don't know. We'll see. If I get like 10K, I'll probably reevaluate. Well, 10K subscribers isn't really anything to brag about, so I don't know. But I feel like 10K, 50K, 100K, and then like I guess 200, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, etc. Those are like kind of the milestones. So I guess for me, the milestone should be 10K. I mean, that's kind of what I should aim for this year, I guess. When you hit it big, would you consider changing your content? Well, you mean... It depends on what you mean by when you hit it big. Like, big as in, like, Linus Tech Tips? Like, that many subs? Like, that many subs? I wouldn't change my content, but I would probably do what Linus did and basically create, like, spin-off channels. So, like, I can see this channel being true to what it is and just always being, like, primarily technical stuff with gaming as kind of like a subcomponent that's used to showcase the technology. But if I wanted to make like a spin-off channel that really covers the gaming stuff, that would be what I would do. I basically like split the gaming from the technology more than it currently is, so I could focus on the gaming side. And when I say focus on the gaming side, it'd be more about like the industry at large. You know, like things that we talk about from time to time, like ray tracing, upscaling, the overall move in terms of like what DX12 does different from DX11, different APIs, that kind of stuff. I would move that into like its own channel or its own space, and then the hardware tech would be the primary focus of this channel. That's probably what I would do. If one hits it big, it was due to the content. Yeah, I wouldn't change the core content that I focus on. So like I wouldn't stop doing like the paint sessions and drawing things, because I think that that's probably the most defining thing about my content. Like, what do you guys think? What do you think is the most defining thing about the Game Tech Reviews channel compared to other like tech channels? I kind of think it's the use of paint. I don't know, like I don't even know what prompted me to use paint one day, and that was kind of a thing. Like I used paint, and I know Joey, I know you sent me that software. I still haven't gotten around to using. I'll look at it tomorrow. I'll look at it tomorrow because I do have some time that I can look at it tomorrow. Just haven't really had the time because I wanted to put out more videos, because May was a terribly busy month for me, like in terms of my day job. So that's the reason why you guys may have noticed that there weren't a lot of good videos from my channel recently, until literally this past week. I put out 3 videos this past week. I did obviously the latest video, which is an optimization guide for the 7950 X3D, and that also applies to the other X3D CPUs. And then I did like 2 videos on the 7600. I might do another 7600 video. One video that I have been thinking about is revisiting older kind of flagship graphics cards. So like revisiting the GTX 1080, because I kind of want to look at like, I want to do a video on like SLI or just the GTX 1080 in 2023, you know, see where it's at. Maybe compare it to a 7600, but I think we already know. You guys saw how the A770 basically lost to the 7600 across all the tests that I did. So obviously the GTX 1080 will also lose. But the GTX 1080 will probably fall somewhere between the RX 480 and the A770, somewhere in that range. So, Kevin saying for sure the breakdown of product stacks. Yeah, and also there is something too that I have noticed about my channel's content, because sometimes I'll go back and sift through my live streams to see if there's good content that I can turn into a clip, like it's a separate video that can stand on its own. I do kind of think that my channel sometimes does a lot of like business focused content. Have you guys noticed that? Like, I don't know if I intended to go into the business side, like talking about like my last live stream, you know, about we were talking about Computex, and that last 15 minutes of that live stream, I might actually turn that into its own video, or I might make another video based off of that video where I started talking about what are Nvidia's goals, or at least how do like public analysts view Nvidia, and how they where that company's going. What is its, like, estimating where they're going to be in 5 years, in 10 years. What's their ultimate end game in terms of all this AI, this investment in AI? You know, that was kind of a thing. You don't really find content like that on other tech channels. Like, maybe sometimes you might hear like Hardware Unbox talk about that in a Q&A or something like that, but not at that level, you know, and not for that amount of time. Because I literally did like a 15-minute session on analyzing Nvidia's business model and how they want to pivot and change who they are. You know, like I recently watched MKBHD, so Marcus Brownlee did a video on the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, the latest flagship smartphone from Sony. I literally watched that earlier today. Because I was really interested in that phone, because I wanted to get a new smartphone, and I ended up getting a new smartphone. I said this before, I now have the Sony Xperia 1 Mark III. They really need to come up with a better naming scheme if they want to be more mainstream with their phones. But I basically have a 2-year-old Sony phone, so it's the same flagship, but it's like the one from 2021, because I didn't want to spend like $1,400 on a smartphone. I didn't want to spend more money on a 7900. I didn't want to spend, let's put it this way, I don't want to spend more money on a phone than the amount of money that I paid for like a 7900 XTX, or if it was a 4080. You know what I'm saying? Like, the phone moves around with me a lot. If I end up dropping it, it's like I don't really want to be like dropping or handling something that's cost $1,400. So I ended up buying the 2-year-old edition, which saved them a lot of money because it was on clearance. So I got it for like $450 or $5. I think it was like the final price was around like $500 for a Xperia 1 Mark III. So now I have like a much nicer phone than what I had before. But anyway, the point is, the reason why I was talking about that was because Marcus did a really good comparison about Sony and their phones, and the example he used was Porsche and their cars. Like, he was saying how Porsche made a lot of these really nice sports cars, but they only cater to a really, really specific demographic, and they don't really sell to the larger market as a whole. So what Porsche did was they made the what was it called? The Cayman? The Cayman, basically like a crossover SUV sort of car, or like a smaller crossover, because those are really popular now. So they made one of those, and that became their bread and butter seller, and then that allowed them to have enough revenue to do R&D and keep making the sports cars. So he was saying like Sony should do the same thing, because their high-end phones are literally only for phone enthusiasts, and if they really want to get more market share, they really need a phone that appeals to everyone, and is also much cheaper, you know, like $600 max is what he was saying. So that's kind of what I was saying with Nvidia, where Nvidia wants to go from being an Amazon.com selling like books and random things to consumers to a cloud service provider that sells to businesses, because that's exactly what Nvidia is doing with the AI stuff. So Nvidia's doing the Amazon thing. So when I made that comparison the other day of NVIDIA is basically Amazon in the early mid-2000s today, and they want to become the Amazon of today, which is where their long-term goal is, where they want to be basically the provider of all the tools, software, hardware, basically the entire product stack for artificial intelligence, and all the startups and all the actual larger businesses that are going to buy into this and invest into this new thing. And this is definitely something that's going to stick around for the long term. I don't think AI is going to be a fad like crypto was, and it's just going to like fade off after a year. I don't think that's going to happen. And it's not that crypto's gone. Crypto's coming back, guys. Crypto's going to come back like in the second half of next year. So just to keep that in mind. Do you think AI will replace chip designers? I don't think it will replace chip designers, but I think it will assist chip designers. I think it's going to augment a lot of the work that they do today manually, and it can also help with quality assurance. You know, it can help for like error checking and that kind of stuff. So I don't see AI as being a thing. Now, I do see that it being it's very disruptive. It can be very disruptive to a lot of industries. I do think that is going to happen because there's too many people that are giving so many examples of how that's going to happen. So it's not like that's not going to happen. But I think that at least initially, AI, it's going to be a long time before AI is capable of doing a lot of these jobs, like these, not just labor jobs, but like design-based jobs. I think it's going to be a while before you can basically replace the entire chip designer and just let AI do all the work on its own. I think we're pretty far from that, but who knows, I could be wrong, because I haven't really done much with AI myself. Because I played around with ChatGPT like twice so far, and I wasn't really that impressed with it. Maybe the next version of it will be a lot better, but I kind of thought it was kind of like a unique little virtual assistant that you could ask questions and it could give you quick answers that were more, that sounded better to recite than to just read something off of Google. But oftentimes, if you search for something very specific with ChatGPT, it's almost like the answer that it gives you is literally just copy-pasted from Google, like from the first or second search result on Google. So that's why I wasn't super impressed with ChatGPT, but it could be because I used it like back in February or something. It's been a while since I played around with it. So, like I asked ChatGPT, what's the fastest AMD graphics card, and it told me the 6950. It either told me the 6900 XT or the 6950 XT. And this was back in February or early March when I asked it this question. And clearly that's the wrong answer, because the 7900 XTX launched in December, and that's currently the fastest card from AMD. So that's definitely incorrect. And then I also asked it what's the fastest NVIDIA graphics card, and it told me the RTX 3090 was the fastest graphics card. So it completely ignored the fact that the 40 series exists. So its database is kind of, you know, the limiting factor on the sort of results that it can give you. Yeah, the database only goes up to 2021. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it's good if you're doing things like if you're working on something where you just need kind of dynamic responses, then I think it's pretty awesome at that. But if you are looking for like hard facts and actual things, like if you wanted to write an article, for example, about the GPU market, I don't think ChatGPT would be the best resource for something like that, because a lot of the things that it says may be factually incorrect or outdated. So that's why I wasn't super impressed with it. But it's still a very interesting piece of technology on its own. I might do a video about artificial intelligence. It's one of the most popular things to talk about right now, but I'm not well enough up to speed on it where I don't think I would add any value if I were to talk about like AI like right now. I'm not prepared to do like a whole deep dive session using Paint on AI. I mean, I could talk about stuff like the objective function and how the machine learning, how the training works with lots and lots of samples and repetition. And basically, you run like a big for loop or a big while loop that goes again and again and again until the result basically converges to a particular subset of answers that are considered correct. You know, like stuff like that. There are so many people banking on creating multiple blogs plus affiliate offers using. Yeah, that's the thing. That's where it could be disruptive, but the problem is it has to be pretty accurate. Like, they can't just put like fake news everywhere that it tells them, which is, you know what I'm saying? Like, the thing is, it's only as good as its database. That's what I concluded. You wonder if Apple will put AI into Siri, because I think okay, let's put it this way. They are definitely going to do something like that. Now, whether or not they use OpenAI's model, that remains to be seen. They might do something with their own hardware or leverage some other kind of provider. But I do think that every one of the large tech companies, all the Fortune 500 companies, are making heavy investments in AI. Like, that I know for a fact. I know that for a fact. Now, I'm not up to speed on like the latest edition of ChatGPT and all of its competitors. But what I can tell you guys is that Apple, guaranteed 100%, Apple, Dell, HP, basically all the ISVs, even the AIBs, even Asus, MSI, Gigabyte, ASRock, you name it, like all these hardware vendors are doing a lot of R&D right now to try to figure out how they can leverage artificial intelligence in some tangible way to benefit their organization. Like, guaranteed. Like, it's all happening. Like Microsoft, all the software, all the hyperscalers, cloud providers, all those guys, they're all like probably the furthest along in that journey of like implementing AI. And then obviously you have all the startups and everyone else. But yeah, it's a pretty big thing. And here's the thing, like, people who are kind of like the naysayers on AI, they probably don't understand, or they're just ignorant to what's actually happening behind the scenes. See, unlike a lot of people who think, oh, AI is going to die off in like a couple of years because of, you know, it's like crypto or whatever. They don't actually know what these large companies plan to do with AI. And I have actually been in on some of these discussions about how AI is going to be used and how much sort of investments are being made. So what I can tell you is AI is nothing like crypto. This is nothing like crypto. It's one thing to have a bunch of like random startups buy up a bunch of GPUs just to mine Ethereum in like Iceland and like China, or just in random places around the world where electricity is really cheap. But it's another thing when all the hyperscalers, all the big Fortune 500s are all on board with AI, because very few of those companies were seriously on board with crypto. Some of them were looking into it or evaluating it as a potential differentiator, but then they never actually did anything with it. I can guarantee you with AI, no, they are actually doing stuff with the AI. They're clearly interested in implementing it. So it's very, very different from like crypto when that blew up back in 2020, or I mean the 3 times that it's already happened. Have you seen the voice side of AI stuff though? People are making it. Oh yeah. No, the deep fakes. Yeah, I know all about the deep fakes. I know all about like the Biden, Obama, and Trump doing the whole like S tier, the tier list videos about like anime characters, Dragon Ball Z, all that stuff, all that nonsense, all those of it. Yeah, I know all about that stuff. Like, you know, the deepfakes of Biden, Obama, and Trump, like, evaluating the Genshin Impact characters and stuff like that. Yeah, I know all about that stuff. You know all about the deepfakes. No, I mean I see them show up like on YouTube all the time. so that's how I know about them. Yeah, the voice, and that's where it's going to be kind of tough to figure out. But a lot of that stuff is kind of gimmicky. Most of the voice stuff is all just kind of entertainment value, if anything. But yeah, it's not going away. See, the fact that you can do stuff like that, you couldn't do any interesting gimmicky stuff like deepfakes with like crypto. Right, like crypto led to NFTs and all this, and the metaverse and all that stuff, and that's still trying to get a lot of buy-in from the general public. But the AI stuff has got the business world, like AI has already got buy-in from the business world. Like that's how you know it's not gonna go away. Because it's one thing when you try to push like NFTs and crypto to the public and the businesses don't really like. You guys remember when Square Enix was talking about adding NFTs to whatever mobile video game it was working on, and then eventually they backed out of it because of so much like public backlash. There's no public backlash to the AI. Now there are people talking about how we're literally summoning the demon. To use Elon Musk's quote, to quote Elon Musk, unleashing AI on the internet is like summoning the demon, or something like that, something along those lines. But I mean, they're already doing that, so AI can be really amazing if you know how to properly use it. My friend uses flying, spraying drones on his agriculture using sophisticated AI programming that helps him save. Yeah, see? That's what I'm saying. Like, there's too many use cases. There's too many use cases for AI that have tangible benefits. And that's the reason why it's not going away. And that's the reason why NVIDIA internally is having to make some very difficult decisions about where they want to make their investments. So basically where I'm going to end the thought about, or I guess the discussion about NVIDIA. NVIDIA wants to be like Amazon Web Services, but instead of cloud provider, they want to do this for AI. They want to provide like AI to like that entire TAM that no one really knows where it ends, like how big that total addressable market is. NVIDIA wants to be the primary footprint and the largest player in terms of market cap when it comes to the AI space. That's their end goal. And what that means is, if you guys thought that they were going to give you more affordable GPUs, they're not, because that's not their primary focus anymore. And that's okay. They don't have to be gaming first. They don't want to do that. Like Amazon.com is not Amazon's primary target anymore. But remember, Amazon.com still exists and it's still huge. So it's not like NVIDIA's gonna say, okay, we're done with the gamers. You guys go buy AMD and Intel now. We'll see you around. They're not gonna do that. They're not gonna leave the gaming market. All these YouTube videos I've seen about people saying, oh, NVIDIA doesn't care about gamers anymore. That's nonsense. It's not that they don't care about the gaming market anymore. It's that they feel like they've already won. They basically have won the war against AMD. They've beaten AMD. They don't feel like AMD can become a major threat to them, at least not this generation, not the next generation. So the only way that AMD can become a threat to them, two things need to happen. One, people need to stop blindly buying NVIDIA graphics cards, and two, AMD really needs to improve the software like support on the professional side, more so than the gaming side, because it's pretty clear, if you guys watch my videos, that AMD, at least for gaming, for just straight up gaming, AMD and NVIDIA are basically giving you the same thing. There's really nothing that NVIDIA adds that is significantly game-changing compared to what AMD is offering. Now, people are obviously going to argue ray tracing. Like I said, in my review of the 7600, look at the games that people actually play and how many of them actually support ray tracing, and how many of those people are using a graphics card that actually supports ray tracing. And what you'll find is that most of the games that people actually play don't have ray tracing, and second, most of the current GPUs that people are using to play these games do not support ray tracing, like GTX 1060, RX 580. You know, these older GPUs, 1080 Ti, like none of these graphics cards support ray tracing, and those NVIDIA cards that I just mentioned don't even support DLSS. So they have to use AMD's FSR if they're on like a 1080 Ti. So you have to leverage AMD's technology if you're on a Pascal GPU. So this is what I'm saying, like AMD and NVIDIA, they're giving you pretty much the same experience. And people might add, well, oh, DLSS 2 looks better than FSR 2. Well, okay, yes, if you're looking at a still screenshot, like right now, if we're looking at Jedi Survivor, a still screenshot where the camera's not moving. But as soon as you're moving around, as soon as you're in a combat situation, no one is going to be able to perceive the difference between DLSS and FSR. If you're fighting like a bunch of mobs or whatever, like it's not going to happen. It's one of those things where it's like, if I took, maybe I should do that. Maybe I should make some videos, side-by-side comparisons, but I don't label them. I do not label which one's DLSS, which one's FSR2. Then I ask the viewer to tell me which one. Guess which one is DLSS, guess which one is FSR, and post in the comment your answer. And then we'll see who's actually right. If I did a blind test, I'm pretty sure it would be 50-50. It's basically a coin toss. You know, it would be a scene where, you know, the character is like fighting enemies, same exact sequence. One will be DLSS 2 or whatever, DLSS 2. The other one will be FSR 2. I could do this with Hogwarts Legacy. I could take a clip, do DLSS 2 from an RTX 3090 Ti on one side, and FSR 2 on a 7900 XT on the other side. But I'm not going to tell you which one's which, and you have to figure it out and see if you can actually get it right. Pretty much guaranteed a lot of people will mess it up, or they'll just randomly guess and they might get lucky, or they'll try to like pixel peep and try to really figure out which one's better. And they might have to go and reference a Digital Foundry video to find the answer. But at the end of the day, it's the same experience. My understanding is that AMD's professional side of the software has been quite stable. Yeah, it's not that AMD's not good in the professional space. The difference between AMD and NVIDIA in the professional space is like how fast something can render in Blender, for example, leveraging CUDA. Because if you do it in OpenCL, it's a lot slower. That's the thing. That's where AMD needs to improve. I really think AMD basically just needs to improve their professional side. That's where they need to focus heavily on, because as far as I'm concerned, the gaming side is the same, but somehow they have to figure out a way to like better market their gaming brand. I don't know how else to say it, because NVIDIA somehow is doing the right thing, and I think the answer lies in exclusive features. Like I said in a previous live stream, I think AMD needs to stop being so nice and open and sharing all their technology and letting NVIDIA and even Intel like leverage their FSR and all this stuff. They need to basically make something that's closed, proprietary. They need to do the Cisco thing. I said this in, well, actually that was in a Discord. But basically what I was saying in a Discord discussion recently was that NVIDIA is like Cisco and AMD is like Juniper. For those that understand networking companies, Cisco has a lot of proprietary protocols that Juniper and a lot of other competitors do not have. And that is a big differentiator in Cisco's favor. Now, NVIDIA has followed suit in that regard because they have stuff like DLSS, you know, their RTX brand of ray tracing, their way of doing it, leveraging their hardware. That's kind of a proprietary thing. At least it was originally, because stuff like Quake 2 RTX was not really designed to run on Radeon, but it does now. But at least initially, you can think of RTX ray tracing, the NVIDIA type of ray tracing, as kind of a proprietary way of doing it. So they have a lot of proprietary stuff, and I think that is kind of a feature, or that is a market differentiator. And I think AMD needs to do more of that sort of thing. Basically make stuff where NVIDIA can't benefit from it. Because it's not helping AMD. It's like somebody with a 1080 Ti can be benefiting from FSR today, but then when it comes time for them to upgrade their GPU, are they going to think that AMD helped them out and let them get by with their 1080 Ti longer because they're able to leverage FSR? Are they going to buy an AMD card because of that? Probably not. So yeah, the Pro cards are fine. Like, there's really nothing wrong with their professional hardware. It's just that a lot of software applications have a lot of optimizations for CUDA. That's basically the end of that. Yeah, and I still haven't figured out how to solve this. I don't really know if I even need to go here, to be honest. Or maybe all I need to do is, like, I just need to run. I just need to, like, run through fast enough. Maybe that's what I have to do. Or run from... No. I forgot how to slow down time. Maybe I need to slow down time? What's the button? No. You have to power it off? Yeah, but I don't know where the power button is. Unless it's down here. Oh, you know what? Maybe... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm supposed to go to power it off. Because there's nothing to interact with. This? No. Oh, wait. Can I just... Yeah, I'm pretty sure it wants me to figure out what to do with that. I opened the shortcut, but I wasn't able to figure out, like, what am I supposed to interact with? Or if there's, like, an object or something I need to grab. Doesn't... No, there's nothing up there either. Wow, that pushes me pretty far. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to slow down time. But I forgot what the control... What was the button to do that? Can't you dash in midair? That's what I was doing. What? Unless I'm supposed to somehow get through by just dashing? No, it seems clear to me I'm supposed to do something with that wind, but I can't find like an object to interact with. There was a button, there was an ability to slow down time, but I don't remember what it was. What's this do? You joined the Discord server, those guys helped you a lot, especially Shadow. Use your lightsaber to do a pole jump? What? I don't think the lightsaber works that way. What? There was a button that I could... There's something I could do earlier. What did I just press? No. I thought he had like a move that slowed down time. Or am I thinking of a different video game? Maybe I'm thinking of Hogwarts Legacy. But I'm pretty sure he had an ability that slowed down time. Pull, confuse, mind trick, precision evade, slow. Oh, right here. Yeah, I think I was pressing that. It's not activating though. So it seems like it's something you can only do in combat. That's weird. Wow, you jump right up to that and it pushes you back. Yeah, I'm missing something. There's something that I'm not doing. Like either I'm supposed to have brought something else over here, or I'm not supposed to be over here. Like I'm not supposed to even be in this area. Maybe that's what it is. Or there's like a whole nother thing that I was supposed to go to in a different area. No, so I'm not supposed to go up. Like in the Olympics? Yeah, I don't think lightsabers work that way. Because they're light. They're not... There's no actual solid object to press into the ground. To do the pole jump. Yeah, this is... Yeah, I don't... Either there's something that I'm not supposed to... I'm not supposed to be here right now. Yeah, I don't know. Let's just try going somewhere else. Because it affects my double jump. Like, I can't double jump when that wind is there. Okay, they don't allow you to do that either. Never mind. That's too high of a jump, apparently. Go back to the settlement and shut it down. To the bygone settlement? Oh, you mean... Wait, hold on. Oh. What were we supposed to talk about on... Oh, we're supposed to talk about PC builds. But there's really nothing to talk about in terms of PC builds, unless someone was thinking of upgrading a computer component. Try one more time. Okay, yeah, so we're going back to the... I'm gonna go back over here. Are you... If you dash emitter, it should let you through. Where's my little... I forgot that animal that... Oh, there it is. Wait, now hold on a second. I am in the bygone settlement, right? Wait a minute. I don't think I even need to go there. I can just like go around. I think the topic was PC builds. Like if someone was gonna upgrade their graphics card, like what graphics card should they get? Or what CPU they should get? See, oh, there's all this stuff right here. I didn't even have to go up there. I could just go this way. How to run the 7900X on Eco with the lowest possible settings while still hitting really good performance. Seems I found the best people. Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I'll probably do more like optimization stuff. So Michael did help me with the most recent video. That guide came from Michael. But yeah, just to address like Joey had, you mentioned the per core offset. Yeah, I do plan to revisit that at some point. The thing with doing that is it's more time consuming, right? Because it's you basically have to do a lot more stress testing or stability testing to try to find out what is the optimal offset voltage for each individual core. So yeah, that on air, who, me? $7700X tuning. Yeah, you're not the only one. See, the problem is I have the 7700X sitting in its box, not being used because I don't have the motherboard for it. You know what? This is not where I want to go. Oh no, this is not where I want to go. And I don't think I have a choice now. Somehow I ended up back where I was. No, I don't want to be here. I can't. I lost the mount. What was that? What was that? That was super random. I need to teleport. I need to fast travel back, but I have to find the Jedi thing. I screwed up really bad. I somehow went backwards. So this is where I was. Somehow we ran all the way back. I guess I'm supposed to go... Oh, I'm supposed to get back to my ship. I don't even need to be doing whatever it is I was doing just now. That's like all side quest stuff. I kind of want to go back to... Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Is this it? Yeah, that's it. Hold on, maybe I can use this thing.
We'll get around faster now.
To get over that thing. Did I use Corruptimizer? Are you talking about what I did? Uh-oh. No, I didn't want him to... Okay. You're waiting for your case? I still think... So the 7700X is actually really good value now. Because it's been on the market for a while, so you can find one for cheaper. But I think the 7800X 3D is still... If you're trying to build a gaming rig, I think the 7800X 3D is worth considering. Hold on, this is the right way? What's over here?
Yeah.
See, up there, that's where I can't get past the thing. That's up there is where I got stuck because of the air. I don't understand. Is there something that I'm supposed to look for down here?
Here we go.
No, see that goes back. That goes back. I guess I should just teleport away. Cause I don't know. I don't even need to really be here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go back to my ship.
focus.
B650 Oris Elite AX. I can't fast travel?
All right, let's go.
Oh, I guess we have no other choice. We have to figure out how to get past this thing. And that wasn't the right way.
Come on.
Here we go. We're back to the air thing. So I guess maybe I do need to do some kind of... Oh, wait, what? What? What did I just do? There was a prompt for something. I pressed RT, but it didn't do anything. That's... What the... What? I can't get past this? It really seems like... Yeah, but then how am I supposed to... I can't go in there. Maybe something in here? So, I guess I don't need to explore this place? I can't fast travel from it, though. What's this? Oh, you know what? Maybe I'm supposed to go that way.
Mount up.
I guess we're going... Wait, hold on. Let's go this way.
Looks like the Mantis is back in action.
Okay, this is all I had to do then. The game didn't really do a good job of telling me that I'm not supposed to get past that. You'd think that a Jedi with all the Jedi abilities would be able to do something with get past that, but no. Oh well.
Come on.
I had to dismount. What?
You know,
I had to dismount just to like lower the bridge. That's weird.
Let's see if Doma's interested in this.
Yeah, that was the free... Did you get that from Micro Center? Wait, why is there like a X-Wing here? My ship is literally behind me. Oh, hopefully I can finally get off this planet and go to Coruscant.
Come on, Echo.
What the heck? What?
Let's go, BD.
They're too close. You can't.
Z.
I had to be standing behind Z to be able to start that. That's weird.
I must know. Did you locate the key to Tananor?
It's complicated, but we'll find it.
Monk told me what transpired while I was asleep. To think the Jedi Order is no more, that must have been dreadful for you. We have both been through so much, but we must persevere, Cal. After all, what else is there to do?
I'm running 5600 right now.
That's right.
So I'm running, well, mine is supposedly an XMP profile.
But if you need my counsel, I will be at the saloon. I am very fortunate to have met you, Cal Kestis.
But yeah, I'm running 5600. I'm running 64 gigabytes, 5600.
I found
232 gig dual
What we
rank.
got? Another holocron?
Jedi. From the time of the High Republic, somehow preserved him back to Dagan Gera. I freed him.
What happened?
He attacked me. Escaped with the Bedlam Raiders. He's who they've been looking for. Says the Jedi betrayed him and turned to the dark side.
Are you okay, kid?
That's actually really lucky.
It's real, Grease. It's hidden somewhere in the abyss.
Oh, that's impossible. The Abyss eats any ship that gets too close.
The Republic found a way through hundreds of years ago. That's why
well,
they built that array in the forest.
A hidden world that nobody's been able to reach for
on
centuries.
2 sticks it shouldn't be
If you
hard.
figured out how to cross the abyss, you could just...
I think I can actually run 6000.
Completely.
I plan to do a video
Raiders.
about memory
No bounty hunters.
overclocking on ryzen
I'm
soon.
just spitballing here, but that does sound like a place that someone could call home.
But for me to run 6000, 64 gig 6000, I would have to overclock my RAM. Because my RAM is rated for 5600.
All right, I'm going back to the cantina.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
You know, Grease.
I was running 128. Like we'll open up Paint here in a little bit and we'll talk about memory
You're
in
doing
general.
okay on your own. I mean,
Some of this will be redundant for people like Joey who has already looked into a lot of this.
Nobody does.
But it might be a good refresher.
Cal, I'm sorry. My best days are behind me.
Yeah, it does.
I can't even hold
It
my phone.
does help. But the thing is, once you go,
I know things are different from
going beyond 6000 is kind of pointless. But up to 5600 is good.
How you feel?
Like, you'll see good gains up to 5600, and then from 5600 to 6000, there's still like a 3% gain.
You in?
But then if you start going above 6000,
Way of credits.
you don't really see much benefit, and we'll talk about why that is.
Imagine. No more looking over your shoulder. A safe place for us.
We'll also compare it to DDR4.
If anyone knows about a lost Jedi world, see her.
Jedi! Aha! It's about time you paid that lady a visit. All right, I'm gonna make us some food.
You have
before I
Z5
go.
Neos. Yeah, those are actually pretty good. Wait, you've got 64 gigabytes. That might be... Yeah, that might be the same kit that I have, except it's, Wait, Z's shop is unlocked? Oh, Outpost. Okay. Oh, we're going to a new planet? Wait, hold up. Z. Okay. Can we finally leave? Oh man, I want to be able to leave the planet. Can I fly out of here? No. I heard that 60% of this game's story takes place on the planet that I'm on right now. I don't know how that compares to the previous game, but I know that the previous game, you could go to multiple planets pretty early on. This one seems to be starting out... This one starts out pretty nice. I like the opening, the intro part of the game, the prologue being on Coruscant. And... because I always wanted to see what Coruscant looked like after Order 666. So that's the thing. You don't really get to see a lot of Coruscant in, like, Star Wars Episode 4... through, what, 9? You don't really get to see it a lot. Even though it always was there. It's not like it blew up or something, but it's like... I like being able to go revisit it in this game. And I like how they did it at the beginning of the game. Even though it resulted in heavy CPU bottlenecks for most people. At launch. Anyway, so let's take a break from Star Wars. Let's talk about the RAM. I guess what I'll do is I'll pause this. No, that's gonna have like a bunch of background noise, so maybe not. So we'll do this. There's paint. Okay, let me just go ahead and exit out of the game. Okay. So, 64... I gotta move this over again. So, 64 gigabytes on... yeah, finally. had to wait, like, just... almost 90 minutes. What's funny is I was playing the game for like, what, an hour and 20 minutes? And I spent most of that wasted on trying to get past a air duct. And then eventually not learning from one of the viewers that you can't actually get past it. So that was interesting. Okay, so the thing about the RAM is you've got essentially... you have four DIMMs for most motherboards. I know this is not drawn to scale. This is like really way spaced out. But it gets the point across. And then you've got the CPU like over here. The CPU's like over here. And then you've got, I think, let me see if I can remember this. This is A2, A1, B1, B2. So, the way it works is... so, 64 gigabytes on AM5 today is actually pretty easy to do. So, let's do something here. This is the... well, let's see. Is this gonna work? That's weird. Hold on. Okay, this is the RAM that I'm running right now, for those wondering. So, 5600 is twice the U clock. The uncore frequency. So 6800. So the way you can tell if you're running in a 1-to-1 ratio, if you have CPU Z, which is what this program is, it's very easy. You click on the memory tab, because you've got, you know, the CPU tab. You guys can see. So this is a Ryzen 9 7950X. You know, we're running at, what, 5.4 gigahertz while live streaming, so, and there was a game running in the background. So all this background stuff going on, so that's why it's doing that. But the memory is 64 gigabytes of DDR5, 2800, so 2800 times 2 is 5600. So the RAM is running at the XMP profile or Expo profile of 5600. And these are the primary timings. Obviously, CPU-Z doesn't show the sub-timings, but we've got CL30, 36, 36, 89. These are the primary timings on this set of G-Skill. This is, for those wondering, this is SK Hynix, G-Skill, Ripjaws S5, or Flare X5. This is not the Trident Z5 or Trident Z5 Neos. This is just the regular plain heat spreader without the RGB. That's basically what it is. You just check your RAM. Okay, so if you've got RAM that is 40, 40, 40, 77, that is Micron. That is Micron memory. So that is, and 40, 40, 40, 77, 4800 megahertz. That is a JEDEC specification. So that is, if you can see here, if you can see my mouse is showing up. So that is basically what I have here under JEDEC number 6. 2400 times 2 is 4800. So this is 4800, 40, 40, 40, 77. So that is this one right here. Actually, there's two of the exact same profile. I don't know why there's two different ones. But basically, your RAM is basically JEDEC Micron. Most likely, it's made by Micron. If you have CL 40, 40, 40, 77, that is Micron memory. And that is a JEDEC standard. So there's nothing wrong with that. What I can tell you, Kevin, is that if you want to run 128 gigabytes of RAM, you could do that with that RAM. If you had the dual rank, so the dense ones, where it's like 32 gigs per stick, it will end up resulting in 128 gigs. Well, it could be Samsung, but most likely it's Micron. Samsung can make 40, 40, 40, 77, but typically Micron is the one that just adheres to the basic spec, the basic JEDEC timing of 40, 40, 40, 77. This is a very standard spec. So basically, if you guys want to run high amounts of memory, like if you want to run 128 gigabytes of RAM on Zen 4, or if you want to run 192 gigabytes. Now, I have not been able to validate 192 gigabytes yet because it's still really expensive. But if you want to do 128 gigs, I have tested 128 gigs at 5200 and 4800, and what I can tell you is 4800 works. At least for me, it works when I did 128. So I did a video a few months ago on 128 gigabytes on Ryzen 7000 on a 7950X CPU, basically the CPU that you're looking at right now. And it was 128, and it was running at the JEDEC 40404077, and it was 100% stable at 4800 megahertz. Now 5200 megahertz. 128 gigs is pretty challenging. I kind of want to retest it, to be honest, but because I have divided my memory across two different PCs, it's not easy for me to do that. If I wanted to run 128 gigs, I would essentially have to pull out the two sticks that are in my benchmarking PC, which is the 7950X3D, and I'd have to plug it into this PC, or vice versa. I have to take it out of this PC and plug it into that PC, and then test it at 5200. What I can tell you is that JEDEC 4800, 4040, 4077 works at 128 gigs on the Gigabyte motherboards. Now, I don't know about the other motherboards, but I have tested on Gigabyte specifically, and it works. And that was back on a Giza 1005. Today, the latest is a Giza 1007. I'm actually on 1006, so I'm not even on the latest BIOS right now. Like, if you guys want to see what BIOS I'm running, you can see it right here. I am running, for those that are familiar with the Gigabyte X670E Aorus Master. Actually, you know what? Let me make this a little bit larger. So there, I'll just max it. There we go. So this is on the Aorus Master. PCI 5.0, you know, all this other stuff here. There's the BIOS, F10A from March of this year. So I'm not even on the latest BIOS. There's a BIOS from May that is the latest one, which is the GISA 1007. But, you know, it's running fine. I might update it, but I don't really see the need. But this is 5600. So what I can tell you is 5600 64 gigs is very doable on 2 sticks of RAM. Now, when you start doing 4 sticks of RAM, like for example, if you had, let's go back to Paint now. Let me move this back over. There we go. So if you were doing 4 sticks, so if you had 4 by 16 versus 2 by 32, I will always recommend this versus this. Now, you can do this, and it should work, but it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder to get it to run at higher speeds. Because the reason why it's harder, and I don't think there's a lot of people that have explained this in depth, but the reason why it's harder to run 4 sticks of RAM, and this applies to any CPU platform, not just like Zen 4 and AM5. This applies to the older AMD stuff. This applies to the Intel CPUs. If you try to run 4 sticks, it's harder because the electrical traces are way, way longer to return to the CPU. So for example, we're going to use, let's use purple. So we have transmit, and then we have receive. So we have the sending and the receiving. So when we want to send data to memory, we want to write or read data from memory, we have to transmit the signal. Now the way it goes is it's going to go into this one first, because this is the first solder point. This is where it is the first channel for the, or I guess the start point or the entry point into the memory, the physical memory from the memory controller goes into A2 first. And then it works its way through. Think of it like trying to like snake through a pipe. Like if you're cleaning out like a clogged pipe or something. So it has to snake its way through the memory in serially. So now, once it gets to the end of A2, it's going to do one of 2 things. If you have 2 sticks of 32, it's going to snake right back. It's going to come back. Well, I should draw on the other way, but you guys get the point. It's going to turn around. It's going to come right back through, and it's going to go back to the CPU. So the round trip from the CPU to that stick of memory, there's a time associated with that. That's going to be the latency, and that's going to go through the RAM, read, let's say it wanted to read like an entry that was on a memory like chip that was like right here, for example. So it goes there, it snakes its way through, and then it goes back to the CPU. Now, let's say you have, we're not really talking about dual channel at this point, because typically your second stick of memory would be on B2. So you'd be in A2 and B2. The reason why you'd use A2 and B2 is because, let's say we need to pull data from the second channel. Well, the entry point for the second channel, we'll call that TX1 or TX prime. That one is going to go into B2. B2 is the entry point for that one. So, and it's going to do the same thing. It's going to snake its way through the RAM, grab what it needs, either read or write, and then return back to the CPU. So this is a dual channel configuration with, this is called one DIMM per channel, or also known as 1 DPC. 1 DIMM per channel, which means you have 2 sticks of RAM. 1 DIMM per channel means equals 2 sticks of RAM. The other configuration would be 2 DIMM per channel. That would be 4 sticks of RAM. That's basically populating everything. So that's the difference. Now, why is 2 DPC a lot hard. I said stocks of RAM. I mean, whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. 4 sticks of RAM. Okay, so this is harder to run, and now we're going to illustrate it with green. We'll use green. So if you are using 4 sticks of RAM, let's say you want to read something off of A2 again. So now you start the transmit, you start going through A2, even though the data that you're looking for is in A2. Well, okay, in this example, we're still trying to grab this piece of data. We're trying to read this data from memory. So you enter A2 first, you read that data, but then in order to go back to the CPU, you cannot just turn around. That's against the flow of traffic. You can't do that. It's a one-way street. So you have to keep on going through A2. Now, however, what happens here, what's different is because you have 4 sticks of RAM, you have more electrical contacts that are powered up. So what ends up happening is you have to cross into A1, then you have to drive all the way through A1, and then get back to the receive point, get back to the CPU. This is the reason why 4 sticks of RAM is not as beneficial for latency and overall performance, because you have to snake your way through both sticks of RAM regardless of where the data is located, regardless of whether it's on the first DIMM or the second DIMM. You have to work your way through both no matter what, regardless of which channel the data is located in, whether that be in the first channel, which is the A channel, or the second channel, which is the B channel. So that is the reason why 4 sticks is not as efficient or as performant as 2 sticks of RAM. So that's why if you want to run 64 gigabytes of RAM, I highly recommend 2 sticks of 32 over 4 sticks of 16. In the long run, it also leaves the door open to being able to upgrade to 128 gigabytes of RAM in the future, because you still have those 2 open slots available. So that's why the 2 sticks are better. 5600, yeah, it should work. Oh, I don't even know what we're talking about. How am I able to run Expo with 1.35 if I reset the PC BIOS, gets corrupted, and makes me go back to optimal settings? Yeah, if you clear CMOS, everything should go back to default. So no, like if you're wanting to run the first question is, are we talking about 32 gigabytes across 4 sticks of RAM, or are we talking about 32 gigabytes across 2 sticks of RAM? 32 gigabytes across 4 sticks would be harder to do, although it is actually relatively easy to do because it's still like single rank. 2 sticks. Okay, yeah, that's the most common. So the most common configuration that I've seen is 2x 16 gig for 32 gig on 2 sticks. This is the most common one because a lot of people that upgraded from like Micro Center was literally giving this away for free. So what is the curve optimizer update in gigabyte? It used to be -30, now -40. So if you're just using curve optimizer, in my opinion, -30 is still the most you can get on average. The way you get -40 on curve optimizer, you have to use load line calibration, like I showed in that video. Otherwise, it won't be stable. In fact, I don't recommend doing -40. I don't think I tested my CPU long enough to 100% verify that it's 100% stable at -40, even with the extreme LLC. So I still kind of recommend doing -30, stability testing it for like a day or two, doing various things that you're okay with if the computer like crashes or the application crashes, that sort of thing. That's just the nature of stability testing. Would you say 16 gig is still acceptable for games? So today, 16 is the bare minimum. Like in my mind, 16 is the minimum spec. I highly recommend 32 gigabytes as kind of the norm. 64 is actually what I consider optimal. Some people will disagree with me on that statement. However, you guys have seen some of my live streams of showing games like The Last of Us Part 1, Star Wars, Hogwarts Legacy, etc. All these newer games, the general theme is they use a lot of system resources. So even at 32 gigs of RAM, you're still running like above 16. And in some cases, if you're doing a lot of stuff with your computer and you're also trying to play a game, you can exceed 32 gigabytes in some rare scenarios. SoC should not be over 1.3. Yeah, it should. Yeah, he's talking about DRAM. 1.45 is DRAM. You can't be at 1.45 on SoC anymore, assuming you're on the latest BIOS. So, let's see here. But yeah, 5600, 6000 is what I would recommend. I personally have not tried to run 6000 megahertz at DDR. Hold on. At 6000 megahertz, 64 gigabytes. I've not tried to do that. I'm probably going to try covering that in a future video real soon. But let me just to show something here. Where is it at? Okay, so let's do this. See if this actually. That shows up really weird. Why is it so big? Hold on. Well, I guess if I scroll through, can you guys see? Okay, so this is to show kind of like the voltages. So your SoC voltage, does it actually show the... Oh, it's not showing the tooltip, so you guys can't see the description. But anyway, if you have Hardware Info 64 installed, you can view what the actual voltages are while you're in Windows. So for example, my VDD voltage, this is the, so this one right here, VDD-CR, VDD-CR underscore VDD voltage, SVI3TFN. This is vCore. This is the voltage for the CPU cores. So 1.386 is what we're running at right now. Now, if your computer is idling or all you're doing is like literally just watching this live stream, you're obviously going to have better temps than what I'm showing. The reason why this is obviously happening is because I'm live streaming right now and there's a bunch of stuff that's running. So the CPU is actually doing work right now. So that's why these temps are what they are. So SoC voltage is the second one right here. VDD-CR underscore SoC. This is the system on a chip voltage. You can see right here, I'm running at 1.194. So that is just under 1.2 volts on the SoC. So that's kind of what that should be, something around there. And then if we want to look at stuff like the power consumption, this CPU, while streaming and running all these background apps, is right now doing 90 watts. We're doing 90 watts on the CPU package power. And the cores, per core is like 5 watts. Core power 50. Well, actually, hold on. This one is the power. This one is the power consumed. So this 59 watts here, this is the power consumed by the entire core domain. So this is like the CCD. These are like the CCDs. So, and then you've got SoC power. The SoC is only pulling 16 watts. So you can see, like, the processor is relatively efficient considering it's a 16-core 32-thread CPU. But yeah, if you download CPU-Z, you can check and see what your SoC voltage is. So it should be somewhere around 1.2, 1.25, depending on what your memory speed is. If you're running JEDEC speed, like for example 4800 megahertz on the RAM, it should be closer to 1 volt. If you're running, like I'm running an XMP or Expo profile, I'm running close to 1.2 volts because I'm running an Expo or XMP profile. If you're running 6000 megahertz, you should be running closer to 1.25 volts on the RAM or on the SoC voltage. And then I think the RAM voltage, I don't know, let me see if I can find that. Where is that at? No, these are core. You guys can see we're running, this is the all core right now. It like jumps around like 5.4. You can see it's doing 5.4, and then the bus clock. Let me see, is there the, where is the RAM? Well, let's put it this way. The RAM that I'm running is rated for 1.25 volts. So this RAM, actually, it was in CPU-Z. Yeah, it was in what, let me bring back CPU-Z. Now that's probably going to be kind of weirdly shaped. Oh no, I can fix it. See right here, this RAM from G-Skill, but it's SK Hynix, the XMP 5600 profile has 1.25 volts for 5600 megahertz. So that's where that comes from. After reboot, it's running at 1.0525 volt. Yeah, that's normal. 1.1 volt is basically the JEDEC speed. So that's the JEDEC right there. Okay, so let me go back to this again. So that, but see, that's why almost everyone you talk to, when it comes to memory, it doesn't matter what platform you're running, they're going to recommend that you run 2 sticks of RAM. Either run 2 sticks of 16 for a total of 32, or 2 sticks of 32 for a total of 64. Those are going to be the most common configurations for the next couple of years. The 4 sticks of RAM is going to become a thing for anyone who wants to, like, double up their memory. So if you're on 32 today, you can go to 64 by running 4 sticks. Just know that that is going to be harder to do. Well, actually, no. It's really not that much harder to do. In fact, I can probably do a video about that. I could probably test, like, 4 sticks of 16 versus 2 sticks of 32. So yeah, we can probably do some. I'll have to source the memory though, so that's gonna be a problem. But yeah, I do plan to do a video testing like 6000 megahertz and above, and what that does to the SoC voltage, because the SoC voltage will go up based off of your memory speed. So in general, the faster your memory is running, the higher the voltage on the SoC will need to be in order to maintain that speed at 100% stability. That's the reason why I don't recommend going beyond 6000 megahertz, because there's kind of a wall. Like if we were to draw out or plot out the performance improvement from, say, 4800 JEDEC. Oh man, this is kind of... The other thing that I want to do real quick, I'm going to draw the equivalent DDR4 to DDR5 conversion. For those that are not really familiar with DDR5, but if you understand DDR4, no, it'll have to take a while to train. You just have to wait for it to train. It's going to start. You just have to let it train. Give it like 40 seconds. It has to program all the subtimings in DDR5. DDR5 takes longer to train than DDR4. Okay, so DDR4 started at 2133. If I'm not actually, it actually goes all the way down to 1866. So then there's 2133, 2400 is not really. You can do it, but it's kind of like, yeah, no one's really gonna do it. So here's the thing about Intel. I'll make one quick statement about Intel. Intel supports higher speed. However, once you start going high density, like 128 gigs of RAM, it really starts clawing back the speed. It really starts limiting you on how fast you can push the RAM. So just keep that in mind. No, he just has to give it time to train. Incorrect. Okay, yeah, you're in. So if you go back, did you clear CMOS? You probably just need to clear CMOS to start from scratch. So 2666, 2933. There's also an intermediary 2800, but no one ever ran that. 3200, 3600. We're just gonna go with this. We're gonna run with these numbers, okay? So now we're gonna do the DDR5 equivalents. So DDR5 starts at 3600. It makes you think of Monster Hunter World, where you go to like high rank and master rank and all that stuff, where it's like all of a sudden the last gen's better stuff was kind of like not that good anymore. So 3600 is equivalent to like 1866 on DDR4. Then it goes to, I believe, 3800, then 4000, then 4400, then no, hold on. One of them is okay, let's get rid of 3800. 4000, 4400. Actually, no, because 40, I think this is right. 48, 48, 5000. Hold on. I'm missing one. Oh, you know what? I'm missing, yeah, 4400, 4800, and then 5000. No, 5200, 50. That's what I was looking for. Okay, 5600, and then you get 6000. Okay, so the conversion table for DDR4 to DDR5 is like this. Why am I showing this table? Because this is, once you start going above 6000 on DDR5, first of all, the RAM starts getting way more expensive. So you end up overpaying for very little in terms of gains at the end of the day. So up to 6000, you have very good scaling in terms of the performance uplift with each different memory multiplier or divider. But once you start going above 6000, you start hitting diminishing returns. Now, in the case of AMD, AMD is on their first generation DDR5 memory controller. So keep that in mind. So AMD Ryzen 7000, aka Zen 4, is relatively equal to, in terms of where it's at, to the Alder Lake IMC. Alder Lake's IMC. Alder Lake's integrated memory controller. So keep that in mind. Technically it supports a higher official spec than Alder Lake did for DDR5. But in general, both of them basically kind of top out around like 6400 on Gear 2 mode. So, and then Alder Lake is like always Gear 2 mode. That's another thing that I need to point out. So it will not, so for those that are wanting to run higher speed DDR5, like expensive DDR5 that goes above 6000, I hate to break it to you, but you're going to have to wait until Zen 5. Because currently, the only platform that can do that reliably is Intel's Raptor Lake. So the 13th gen has the better memory controller because these are both first gen DDR5. Okay, so Raptor Lake is second gen DDR5. This is the thing that I think a lot of like the tech press, they don't really talk about this. They like to show, oh, 13th gen can do high-speed DDR5. Well, yeah, it should, because if it couldn't do that, if Raptor Lake could only do what like Zen 4 can do and top out around like 6400, that would kind of be embarrassing because it is a second generation DDR5 memory controller versus a first generation memory controller. So the Zen 5 CPU, which is coming out next year, will be more in line with Raptor Lake's DDR5 speeds. That is kind of how it is. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind, okay? Because this is something that I see a lot of people talk about, like, oh, well, you can't do high speed. Well, that's because we're talking about apples and oranges when we're comparing DDR5 memory controllers between the Raptor Lake and the Zen 4. But anyway, in terms of DDR5, today, no one really runs this. No one really runs this or this. For a while, this was a usable, commonly found on laptops for DDR4 for many, many years. So this is kind of the base spec for DDR4 and DDR5. So DDR4 would be 2666, DDR5 would be around 4800 megahertz or megatransfers. So a very popular one that you see a lot on like high dense DDR4 servers is typically running like 2933. It used to be most servers that run DDR4 memory were running either 2400 or 2666. So these are more like server, JDAC standard speeds, these two right here. Very, very common speeds. So 2933, what I can tell you guys, my old Threadripper, so my Threadripper 2950X, Threadripper 2950X, I can do 64 gigs across 4x16. I can do 64 gigs on Threadripper. This is DDR4 at 3200 megahertz megatransfers. Now, when I was running 128 gigs on Threadripper, so I was doing this. This is populating all 8 DIMMs on the motherboard because the motherboard on Threadripper has 8 DIMMs. It has quad channel memory. So when I ran 128 gigs to be 100% stable, I could only do 2933. Now remember, Threadripper 2950X is a Zen Plus based architecture. It isn't even Zen 2. 2950X is actually Zen Plus. So this is what I was able to do on a Threadripper system for several years. Either 64 at 3200 or 128 at 2933. Okay, so that kind of paints the picture for DDR4. Now, if we talk about, well, I guess I can remove that. So now we talk about 3200. The reason why I choose specifically 5600 is because I know if you want to avoid any kind of like stability testing and all this other stuff, and if you want to run like 4 sticks of RAM at some point in the future, It's much easier to do 5600 than say 6000, because today, so if you guys remember the early days of AMD's Zen 1, so think of the Ryzen 7 1800X. You know, remember the old Zen 1? This CPU topped out at 3200 megahertz. If you were lucky. Some people were not lucky and they didn't win the Silicon Lottery and they were stuck at 2933 for the longest time. So the official spec for Ryzen back then was actually 2666 was kind of the maximum spec for like 2 sticks or for 4 sticks of RAM. And if you were doing 2 sticks of RAM, you could do 2933. So 2933 was where a lot of people were doing, or where a lot of people were running, right? That was the kind of the official upper limit for one DPC or 2 sticks of memory. Now, if you were lucky and you got a really nice binned CPU, you could top out at 3200 megahertz back in 2017. And this is the reason why, like today, if you look at Zen 4, aka like a 7000 series Ryzen CPU, what you will find is that AMD, when it comes to 1 DPC, aka 2 sticks of RAM, AMD's official specification, and I want to stress this point, the official specification is 5200 megahertz. 5200 megahertz. So I hope that makes sense, because that's kind of the same as Zen 1. This is the reason why, like I've said in my coverage of the Ryzen CPUs, it's a lot like Zen 4 feels in some ways very similar to Zen 1. Because now you're dealing with a new memory controller, first generation DDR5. It's kind of like how first gen Ryzen was on first generation DDR4. So this is the reason why I wanted to bring this chart up, because I think this illustrates kind of what you can expect in terms of what memory you can do. So if first gen, in my mind, and this is the reason why I have the memory that I have, this is the logic behind it. In my mind, if first gen Ryzen topped out at 3200 megahertz, which is outside of specification, because remember, the official spec was like 2933 for 2 gigs or like 2666 for 4 sticks of RAM. That means that if we want to translate Zen 1 to Zen 4, then we want to look at this table. So 3200, if that was the top out speed for first gen Ryzen, now 5600 is the top out speed for Zen 4, for the first generation DDR5 memory controller. So this is the reason why I'm running 5600 megahertz. And that's why I don't have any issues with like, slow post times or like long memory training, etc., all that stuff. For me, the experience is basically you turn on the computer, it posts, and then it goes, right? Like I've done videos showing the post test on Zen 4 to show users, like on a new build, like how long it takes to train, but with each subsequent boot, it doesn't take that long to train. So this is the reason why 5600 DDR5 is effectively 3200 DDR4. The reason why 6000 is the one that you'll always hear people talk about is because 6000 is equivalent to 3600 DDR4. Why is it equivalent? Because if you guys remember Zen 3, aka Ryzen 5000 series, when you want to run the Uncore clock or the Unified Memory Controller clock, or I guess the IMC clock, but they call it U clocks, I think Uncore clock, which is basically the SoC, where the IMC resides. If you want to run this equal to the MEM clock in a 1-to-1 ratio, also known as Gear 1, the maximum speed that you can do this ratio on Zen 3, so think of like a 5950X or a 5800X 3D, etc., all those CPUs, 3600 megahertz is the maximum, because the fabric clock, the F clock, tops out at 1800 megahertz. So if you double 1800 megahertz, you get 3600 megahertz. So that is the reason why this was kind of like the holy trinity of Zen 2 and Zen 3. Now, Zen 1 and Zen 2, this doesn't really apply. Actually, technically, it does apply. But the reason why no one really talks about the holy trinity, U clock equals M clock equals F clock equals 1800 megahertz when it comes to like first gen Ryzen, is because, like I just said a few minutes ago, first gen Ryzen topped out at 3200 megahertz, and 3200 megahertz is not 3600 megahertz, which is double 1800 megahertz. So, meaning the IMC in the first generation of Zen was not mature enough to max out the F clock at 1800 megahertz. It just wasn't there at the time. Now, that is one of the things that Zen 4 does a lot better than Zen 1, because most systems can run 6000 megahertz DDR5 on Zen 4 out of the box. You know, like that. That's the reason why Micro Center is giving away. I don't know if they're still giving away. I think they are. Depends on the CPU. But that's the reason why Micro Center was giving away, 32 gigs of DDR5 6000 megatransfers, which is pretty good. So that's the reason why it's like, yeah, you can run 6000. You can run 6000 on Zen 4, but just know that is kind of that is the going above and beyond. That's like telling someone that's like saying you have a 1800X running 3600 megahertz. Back then, I can guarantee you in 2017, that was almost unheard of, unless you were doing some kind of like LN2 overclocking or something like that. So that's the reason why I wouldn't really worry too much about it. If you have 5600 megahertz, that's totally fine. If you have 5200 megahertz, you're basically running AMD's official spec, because AMD supports up to 5200. That's what they will support for 2 sticks of RAM. Like, they guarantee 5200. They don't guarantee anything above 5200 megahertz. That's considered an overclock. And just to kind of finalize that thought, if you guys remember Intel's Alder Lake only officially supports up to 4800 megahertz, and AMD's Zen 4 supports up to 5200 megahertz. And if we want to include Raptor Lake only officially supports, despite the fact that you can get pretty high speeds on Raptor Lake with 2 sticks of RAM, they only support up to 5600 megahertz. That is the official specification for Intel's Raptor Lake. Anything beyond 5600 on Raptor Lake is not guaranteed, and it is not officially supported. So I just wanted to clarify that, because a lot of people, they're going to go and look online, they're going to see someone saying, oh, I'm running 7200 megahertz RAM stable. Well, is it 100% stable? Possibly, yes, maybe. Is it officially supported by Intel? No, it's not. So keep that in mind. All right, so this is probably going to confuse some people, but this is what I've circled there is where this is going to be for Zen 3. We'll just say Zen 3. For Zen 3, well, let's just draw an arrow. For Zen 3, U clock equals mem clock equals F clock equals 1800 megahertz is kind of the maximum. Now, for Zen 4, what you need to remember is U clock equals mem clock equals 2000 megahertz. So this is the new and improved. That's the new and improved. This is the kind of the... Actually, hold on. Is that right? No, that's not right. It's 3000. For Zen 4, U clock equals mem clock. Now, the reason why I'm not showing fabric clock is because fabric clock, I gotta remember what fabric clock is actually running at now, because I completely forgot about it. Because it's decoupled from the architecture. It runs at its own clock now. It's asynchronous, essentially. So this is now 3000 megahertz, up to 3000 megahertz, whereas the old one was up to 1800 megahertz. Oh, that's right. That's right. F clock is 2000. Yeah. And then F clock on Zen 4 equals up to 2000 megahertz. So back then, on Ryzen 5000, there's a holy trinity. All three of these values want to run exactly the same. So you kind of cap out around 3600 on DDR4. Yeah, if you want to go beyond that, you need to use what's known as Gear 2 mode if we're talking like Intel's specification. Well, it's not really Intel specification. It's really a DDR5 thing, right? So if you want to push beyond 3600, if you want to run like 4400 DDR4, that's pretty common to see nowadays for DDR4, you need to be running U clock equals half mem clock. Same thing with Zen 4. If you want to run 6400, I didn't talk about going beyond, but like let's say for instance we wanted to do like DDR, say 4200. DDR 4200 is kind of like DDR 6400. DDR5 6400. If you want to run these speeds, you need to be in U clock equals half mem clock. You basically need to have the divider set so that your and the reason why you don't see a lot of people doing that on Zen 3 is because your F clock basically runs at like half because they're all tied together. You get a performance penalty on your SoC because your F clock is now running at half. The probably one of the greatest improvements on the Zen 4 architecture is the decoupling of mem clock and U clock from F clock. So making these asynchronous and they don't rely on each other anymore means that you can keep F clock at 2000, but you can drop your U clock down to say 1500, or to push further, right? So if you wanted to do say 1600 megahertz on U clock, so you could do say if we're doing like U clock equals half mem clock, like if you're doing this, then that means you can run 6400 on Zen 4. And Joey actually does this. You can achieve 6400 if you run U clock equals half mem clock. You can do, say, let's say we want to do 6400, right? So we're doing 1600. So U clock, this implies that U clock equals 1600 and mem clock equals 3200, right? Because this implies that your RAM speed is 6400 megahertz. That is how you can do 6400 megahertz on Zen 4. Now, what I just showed you, what I'm showing you guys right here, is exactly how Intel's DDR5 memory controller works. Intel, the secret sauce to the reason why one of the reasons why Raptor Lake can achieve such high-speed DDR5 is because Intel is always, and I want to emphasize, always U clock equals half mem clock. This is by design. Intel always uses the Gear 2 1 to 1.5 ratio, or I guess the 2 to 1 ratio. Whereas AMD can actually do Gear 1. Okay, so that's something I want to point out, because a lot of people don't really mention that very often, but that's actually the reality of how Raptor Lake can do such high speeds. Now, the weird thing about Raptor Lake is you can't, like, if you run slower speed, like let's say you're only running like 5200 or JEDEC 4800 on Intel's Raptor Lake, for whatever reason, it still won't let you run on a 1-to-1 ratio. So for some reason, by design, Intel's processor just doesn't do Gear 1 mode, even though it was in the BIOS in the early days of Alder Lake. So yeah, if you want to run 6400 on AMD, you can do it. You just have to do what Intel does. You have to run the slower ratio. U clock equals half mem clock. Because think about it. This, having your Uncore running at 1600 is way less stress on the SoC than having it run at 3000. But this is the reason why most people who are on Zen 4 will recommend that you do not go beyond 6000, because when you're at 6000, your Uncore is able to do 3 gigahertz. If you want to go to 6400, now your Uncore is only running at 1600 megahertz instead of 3 gigahertz. See, that is the fundamental reason why going beyond 6000 on AMD, it's just diminishing returns at the end of the day. Now, in terms of memory bandwidth, you do get more memory bandwidth. But in terms of your inter-CCD latency and things like that, it's not that good. It's just not as good as if it was in U clock equals mem clock or Gear 1. And Joey did some benchmark comparisons to verify this, and everything I'm saying is all proven by those benchmarks. So, yeah. So in general, if you're someone who's on AM5 with Zen 4, aim for either 5600 megahertz for 64 gigs or up to 100. Well, 128 you can't really do 56, at least unless you win the Silicon Lottery. You can't really go beyond 5200 on 128 gigs of RAM, in my experience. So you can't really go beyond AMD's official spec for 2 sticks of RAM. Gear 164, you'll email the screenshot. Okay, so you can get, wow. I'd like to see how you managed to pull that off, because that means you really did win the Silicon Lottery. Because that means that you're actually running, if you're running 6400 in Gear 1 mode, that means that you have the golden SoC in Zen 4, because that means that your Uncore can actually run 3.2 gigahertz on an SoC. That is insanely fast. That is basically double the standard 1600 megahertz for 6400 mega transfer RAM. That's crazy. The MSI Ace helped you do that, man. I kind of want to try to see if I can do that. That RAM. A quick question about that: like the RAM that you're using to achieve that, is that SK Hynix? And if so, what's the actual kit? You can't do it on the other board. Oh, on the Tai Chi, or I forgot what the other one you had was for the AMD. Oh, the Tai Chi. Yeah, I'd like to know what particular RAM kit you were using to do that. That's pretty impressive. Like Gear 1, you guys don't really understand. Like doing Gear 1 6400 is insane. Like that is super lucky. Because most people that want to run 6400 on AM5 are basically doing the Intel thing, and they're running in Gear 2 mode. Gear 1 is what I just said. So Gear 1 is U clock equals mem clock. Gear 2 is U clock equals half mem clock. That is the definition. So when we're talking about Gear 1, typically you can run Zen 4 in Gear 1 mode up to 6,000 megahertz RAM. When you want to go beyond 6,000 megahertz RAM, in pretty much every single case, you have to drop down to Gear 2 mode because it is too much for the uncore. The uncore cannot really handle going beyond 3 gigahertz. Yeah, you got a really good IMC. That uncore is amazing. Man. But that is further testament to how good the MSI Ace is, though, because it's like I always said in the early days leading up to the launch of Zen 4 last year that the MSI Meg Ace is the best motherboard. Unless you need Thunderbolt, it's the best motherboard for AMD right now. Yeah, that's a really good IMC. So, but yeah, I plan to test 6400, but I'm only going to do it on Gear 2. You got ASRock, Steel Legend. That's pretty good. The reality is the motherboard is going to matter. If you're talking about overclocking, the motherboard only matters if you're really trying to push the memory, like basically if you're doing what Joy was doing, like if you're trying to do like the extreme levels of Gear 1, like trying to get the absolute max out of the uncore. Trident Z5, so that's the standard, that's the one with the XMP. What's the rated speed for that Trident Z5? Is that Trident Z5 or Trident Z5 Neo? If it's Neo, that means it's Expo. If it's non-Neo, if it's standard Z5, that means it's XMP. Which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm running XMP right now on my AMD CPU, and it works fine. I mean, you guys saw my CPU Z. Like, you guys saw it's the XMP stuff. Let me bring it back up real quick. See? This is XMP. This isn't even Expo memory. This is memory that's I don't like to say it's supposed to be for Intel or it's supposed to be for AMD just because it has XMP or if it has Expo. The reality is you can use both on either one and it doesn't really matter. As long as the motherboard manufacturer has the RAM on the qualified vendor list, the QVL list, it will work. Regardless of what the memory profile is. So see, I'm running XMP 5600 on an AM5 system, and it works fine. XMP 32. Oh, that's SK Hynix 1.4 volts. So that's okay. Yeah, you're gonna need that kind of voltage to do. Are you just running it at the standard 1.4 volts? It's okay. It's a 6400 kit. Okay, that makes sense. So for me, I might not be able to achieve that. I can try to do it, but my RAM is literally rated for 5600. So, but it's SK Hynix just like yours. So in theory, it could do it. It just might not be as well binned. So it means I might need more than 1.4 volts. And realistically, I'm probably just going to go with Gear 2 mode if I'm going to do anything with 6400. Mainly because I don't even know if my RAM can handle 6400 at like 1.4 volts. It might. I don't know because my RAM does 5600 at 1.25. Is there another review? Oh wow, the 40. Wait, is this someone just posted in the Discord the 4050 Ti review? Is that a laptop GPU? No, wait. What? There's actually a Founders Edition 4050 Ti? Oh well. So, did you get it working? Hold on, wait. I'm trying to go back and see what Kevin ended up doing. Get another RAM kit. Samsung are very hit or miss at high speeds. That's why everyone recommends Hynix for high speed. Yeah, I definitely think Hynix is the way to go for DDR5. Pretty much all the like content that you'll see regarding running higher speed DDR5 is all gonna be SK Hynix. Oh, you left to get burgers? But yeah, it basically all you need to do, I think you already tried it, but like clear CMOS, post the default. So you should post at like whatever the default speed, 4800 megahertz. 4800 megahertz. You go in the BIOS, you set your Expo or XMP, depending on which one it is, doesn't really matter, it's the same thing. You set that, you F10, let it train. It will take like 40 seconds or more, depending on how much RAM and the RAM itself. It really just kind of depends. In general, I would say you have to give it like 40 seconds, 45 seconds. It really just depends. You just kind of have to wait for that first initial training to complete. And then once that's done, then you should be able to get in with the RAM. One thing you could do, if it's not... what is your RAM kit again? 6,000. Yeah. So what you could do... one thing you can do is... You can try doing uclock equals half memclock. You can try manually setting this in the BIOS and see if it will post with that kit of RAM. Because it could just be that kit of RAM is just kind of flaky with the... Well, I don't know, because you've got... I'm looking at the chat again. What was the profile? 6,000, but where is the subtimings? $6,030. Oh, okay, so you have Samsung memory. That should still work, though. 32 gigs. In fact, I have the exact same kit of memory. I'm not running it because I want to run 64 gigabytes on 2 sticks. But I have that exact same RAM that you posted. Well, okay, maybe not the exact same RAM. Because is your RAM G.Skill Flare X5? Or is it something else? Like Trident Z5 Neo or some other thing? Because if you got it from Micro Center, it's going to be Flare X5. And I have the exact same kit. If it's Flare X5, I have the exact same RAM. And I can run mine at 6,000 without any issues. So, I would try like the Gear 2 mode, the uclock equals half memclock, just to see. If you're not able to post DDR 6000, what you also can do is when you're in the BIOS, before you load XMP, manually set the XMP, or okay, it's Expo because it's Flare X5, manually set the speed to 5600 or 5200. You can also do 5200. And then you can like walk it up, assuming it posts at the lower speed. But yeah. Like, if you want to do 1-to-1, like uclock equals memclock, try 5600 or 5200. Try one of these lower speeds with the exact same Expo profile. All you got to do is hard code it to try 52 or 5600, and that should work. And then you can try like 6,000. But you might have to do 6,000 at U clock equals half mem clock for that to work. Who knows? You might just... It could be two things. It could be something's wrong with the RAM, but I highly doubt it because you're able to actually get in to the BIOS with 4800. The other thing that it could be, which is more likely, is you just didn't win the Silicon Lottery. And he's having the exact issue you had with your master? Well, what's the issue again? I thought the issue was that he can't post. What was the issue? It took 2 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. It shouldn't take that long for 32 gigs. For 128, it can take 2 minutes. For the very first memory training. No, but see, he's not using XMP. He doesn't have XMP. He has Expo. It's the same thing, but his is Expo because it's Flare X5. Flare X5 is going to be Expo. So that's like the AMD official stuff. So it should work unless he just doesn't have like a good IMC. What I would do is try 5600, try 5200. Basically, here, I'll just write the steps down. Like step 1, I guess if you have CMOS cleared or whatever, as long as you can get into the BIOS. In BIOS, set, or I guess, we need to make more room. We're running out of room. I have to clean some of this off. Okay, so, whoops. Step 1, set Expo profile. Step 2, before you do anything, do not F10 and leave. Just do manually set 5200 megahertz for the memory speed. Manually set this. Meaning, what it'll do is it will load the... And by the way, that memory is Samsung memory, just so you know. It's not Hynix memory. I have the exact same memory kit, and it's Samsung. And the way you can tell is by the timings. 36, 36, 36, 96 at 1.35 for 6,000 is a dead giveaway that's Samsung memory. Okay, so anyway, you have Samsung for one thing. So what I would say is set Expo, then manually hard code 5200. Because this way, you still get the primary and the subtimings from the Expo profile. You're just going to be running at like the official AMD speed, which is 5200, as opposed to the overclock from Expo, which is 6000. So do that. Then F10 to save and reboot, which will then do the training. Training takes probably like anywhere from like 25 to 40 seconds or so. For 32 gigs, that's what it should be on average for that first train, for the training attempt, and then that'll be it. Then you should be able to get in. Then if successful, no, don't change the voltage. Don't do anything with the voltage. You shouldn't, okay, first of all, you shouldn't be touching the voltage because the Expo profile will set the voltage. Don't do anything with the voltage. If you've messed with the voltage, you need to clear the CMOS and start over. Because you don't have to do anything. Literally, when I got the exact same RAM, all I did was let it train, get me in the BIOS. It was 4800. I set Expo, F10. That's it. No voltage tweaks, nothing. You don't have to do any of that stuff. It'll do it automatically. It's not like the DDR4 memory where you randomly see it, or you see it hard code to 1.35. You don't need to do that. This is all you do. And then it's like step 4, if successful, if you get into the BIOS and it's actually at 5200, then you can try try manually setting 5600. Try that one. I mean, if you want, you can just set 5600 here in step 2 and see if it'll do it. But if you were messing with voltages though, then that, I don't know, like that's not what you're supposed to do. So anyway, that's what you have to do. And then if successful, then you can try 6000, and then it should probably work. Otherwise, like what you can also do, the alternative step would be the following. Okay, that's like option 1. Option 2 is gonna be this. Option 2, this is like the other way to do this without doing what I just said. So step 1 is the same thing. Step 1, set expo profile. Step 2, instead of manually setting any of the speed, what you're gonna do is you're gonna go down to where it says, I forgot what it's called, but the thing that says like uclock equals memclock, you're gonna want to change that to uclock equals half memclock. You're gonna want to do this. Set expo, make sure that the uclock equals half memclock, and then F10 to save and reboot, and that's it. That's it. Then see if it will do that. But you shouldn't have to do anything with the voltages. 52% versus. So I'll tell you, 56 is actually pretty close to 6000. There's not a big difference between 5600 and 6000. There's not a massive difference between 52 and 56, but there is a difference. Percentages, oh man, it's been like months since I looked at this. In general, the difference between 56 and 6000 is like 2 or 3%. The difference between 52 and 56 is like 4 to 5%. So yeah, that's kind of what you're looking at. So that's why I'm saying, like, if you can do 56, great. If you can do 52, that's fine. But make sure, if you're going to do 52, make sure that you're running in a 1-to-1 ratio. Uclock equals memclock. Because pretty much every Zen 4 CPU can do that. Because remember, 5200 is AMD's official specification. Like, if you run 5200 megahertz, that's actually AMD's official spec. So it's like you're not doing anything that's outside of the norm. Once you go above 5200, now you're in the realm of overclocking. That is considered an overclock, and that's not a guaranteed result, if that makes sense. Like I said earlier, 52 is like 2933 DDR4. And that was kind of like the upper limit for a long time for a lot of like Zen 1 CPUs. 56 is what you should aim for, because 56, if you can do 56 on Gear 1, that's actually fine. I mean, that's how I've ran my 5800X, my 3800X, and my 1800X. All of those CPUs ran at 3200 megahertz DDR4. I never bothered to go to 3600 megahertz DDR4. So in my case, like, I'm okay with 5600 because I already know that's equivalent to what I had on DDR4. No, you can't, because you're on Samsung. Do not touch the timings. If you were on SK Hynix, then you can tighten the timings. But because you're on Samsung, don't even bother. Trust me, I have the exact same memory kit. Don't mess with the timings. No, don't even bother. I might have to revisit that memory kit and do a video about it. See, all the memory content for DDR5 that you'll see on YouTube is all utilizing SK Hynix memory. Like, no one's using Samsung, no one's using Micron for anything above, like, 5200 megahertz. Like, there's a reason why that memory was free. There's a reason why that memory that you have was free. Let's just put it that way, okay? So it's rated for 6000 on Expo, but there's a catch. That memory will run really, really hot. The Samsung memory heats up very quickly. So if you start trying to mess with the timings, you're going to run into blue screens, game crashes, application stability issues, all kinds of things that are going to make it seem like you have a hardware problem, but it's not really a hardware problem. It's because the memory gets really hot, really fast, and when you try to like mess with the timings, you're making it become even more strict, and it has to respond faster and doesn't want to because it's too warm. It's like, I wish someone would turn up the AC, but they can't because we're right next to a CPU and a GPU, and the GPU is blowing all this hot air into the case. So you get what I'm saying? So it's like Samsung memory on DDR5, not the greatest. Meanwhile, Hynix is sitting there running at like 40 Celsius, while the Samsung's creeping up to like 60 Celsius. So, yeah. That's why it was free. If you have Samsung DDR5 rated for 6000 megahertz, just hope that you can get it to do 6000 megahertz with what it out of the box. Don't touch anything. Don't mess up the voltage. Definitely don't add voltage, because if you add voltage, if you do like 1.4 volts, that's just going to drive the temperatures through the roof on that Samsung memory. How times have changed. Oh, yeah, because, you know, like DDR4, Samsung was the preferred brand or manufacturer for DDR4. In the world of DDR5, no, it's not. It is definitely not. I can tell you that. Trust me, I've played around with all three brands. I literally have over there Corsair Vengeance. Corsair Vengeance. This is 64 gigabytes on 2 sticks. 2 sticks of DDR5, 5200 megahertz. This is 5200 megahertz, 64 gigs, 232 sticks. Corsair Vengeance. No RGB. It's the plain, like it doesn't have any fancy lights or anything. This is 5200 megahertz. 40, 40, 40, 77. 1.2 volts. You know who makes this? Micron. This is Micron DDR5. So I've got Micron sitting here doing nothing. I've got Samsung, the free Flare X5. I actually have like 64 gigs of that stuff because I've got 5600 Samsung DDR5 Flare X5 from when I got the 7950X on launch day. And then I have 6000. I basically have the same exact kit that Kevin has. I got that stuff when I got the 7700X. So I've got 2 sets of free Flare X5. One is rated for 5600. It's also Samsung. And the other one is rated for 6000, and it's Samsung. And both of them have 36, 36, 36, 96. The difference is one of them, the 5600 is rated for like 1.25 or 1.3 volts or something like that. And the other one is exactly the same as Kevin. It's the 1.35 volts, 6000. So yeah. So I've got 2 different types of Samsung. I've got Micron right here. And then, well, I mean, you guys saw what I'm actually using. I'll bring it up again. Right here, SK Hynix G-Skill. So this is what I'm actually using. So you can see 30, 36, 36, 89 on 1.25 volts, not 1.35 volts. So that's what I'm actually using, 64 gigs. I have a total of 128 gigs of this Samsung memory. I mean, this SK Hynix. So, like, if you guys want to know my entire inventory of RAM, I've got 128 gigs across 4x, what is it, 32? Yeah. Of SK Hynix. That's what I have. Oh, you have 2 sets of Flare. I've got 2 sets of Flare X5, but they're 2 different sets. So all of this RAM is exactly the same. This is we're gonna run out of space again. Well, I guess I'll put it up here. So this is Hynix 5600 megahertz. Well, I'm gonna have to delete more stuff because we're running out of space. Actually, you know what? Let's just clear a bunch of this stuff off. You know what? I'm gonna delete that because we don't need that anymore. So I have 128 gigs, 4x 32 gig, SK Hynix. This is 30, 36, whatever that other number was, 89 at 1.25 volts. This is 5600. That's one of my memory kits. Then I've got this stuff right here. This is, well, that stuff is G-Skill. But this stuff is, what was the... Okay, 4040, yeah, this is a JDEC. But they claim that it's XMP. So this is 64, I have 64 gigs, so 2x32 of Micron 5200 megahertz. 40, 77 at 1 point, I think it's 1.2, 1.25, 1.25. So I've got that. That's the only RAM that's not being used. And then I also have a 32 gig kit of 2x16. This is the free stuff. This is a Samsung 5600 36, 89 at 1 point. I believe this is 1.25 also. And then I have the exact same kit that you have. I've got 32 gigs of 2x16 Samsung 6000 megahertz. Was it 93? I think it's 93. I think it's 93 at 1.35 volts. So this is all the DDR, this is my entire DDR5 collection. Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. 96. Okay. Couldn't remember that last number. So yeah. That's it. That's all my DDR5. So this is what I've tested. This is what I can, like, speak to in terms of my experience with DDR5. Yeah, it's gonna be Expo. All that Samsung Flare X stuff is Expo. But it's the same thing, though. It's pretty much the same thing. On a reset, okay. If it's getting corrupted, so what I would like you to do, a couple of things you can do. Or I guess, have you already tried running the RAM at 4800 megahertz stock, just the bone stock? Have you tried to see if that gets corrupted? Also, what BIOS version are you on? If you have CPU Z, you can check what your BIOS is. So it's very easy in here. Let me go back. You can just go to mainboard, and you can see what the BIOS is. F6B. What is this motherboard? Is this the Aorus? Oh, this is the B650 Aorus Elite. Aorus Elite AX. This must be revision, the first revision. Okay, so I'm looking here. This is gonna be. You said you're on F6B, so you're on the latest BIOS. So that's good. Yeah, so that's the latest one. So if it's okay, if it's stable at 4800, then Yeah, there's a couple things you can try. I would try the 5200, try the 5600. Yeah, that's what I would do. Basically, test the stability at these intermediary speeds, like especially 5200. I highly recommend that you test the stability at 5200 because if you can't do 5200, that means you might actually have potentially defective memory because 5200 is actually within AMD's specification. That's not running your RAM at 5200 is not considered an overclock. So it could be that the RAM could potentially be defective, one of the sticks, and you only really notice that when you're running. Well, I mean, even at 4040, 4077, it could also end up being corrupt. It just kind of depends. It'll just take longer to notice. So yeah. But see, like, I'm not even on the latest BIOS. But my motherboard is different from yours. Aorus Master is like, I think the latest one is like F12 or F11, or no, it might actually be just F10B or C or D or something like that. If it's not working with Expo, it's the board. Well, the thing is, he said it's stable when he's not using Expo, though. He's testing 4800, and it doesn't really do anything. I would definitely try 5200, because 5200 is official specification. What CPU are you using? Is this the 7700X or the 7800X 3D? Oh, 7700X. See, I have the exact same CPU. And I got the exact same memory with the exact same CPU. See, so if we go here... Wait, wow. Why is it super zoomed in? That is weird. That is way zoomed in. Still zoomed in. Oh, you know why? Because I zoomed into CPU Z. Okay, so let's do this. If we go here, right here, this is on AMD's official website. Bam, right there. Maximum memory speed. Maximum memory speed for two DIMMs, single rank, which is what you're running. You're running 32 gigs across 2 sticks. That means you're running 1R or single rank. Maximum supported speed 5200. Right there. That is the official. Okay, maybe we'll do it this way. That's the official specification for 2 rank. What I'm running, just to compare, so you guys can see, I'm running 64 gigabytes. So I'm running the second one. 2 sticks, but dual rank, 2R. Because it's 32 gig per stick. That would be a 2R DIMM. So, but I'm still, according to this, the official supported speed is the same. This is the reason why 64 gigs of RAM across 2 sticks is not actually that hard to do, and achieve the exact same speed as though you were on 32 gigs total. So if you're doing 32 gigs on 2 sticks, if you have 2 sticks of 16, the official maximum spec is 5200. If you're on 2 sticks of 32 each for a total of 64, which is what I'm running, again, same thing, 5200. Now notice here there's a massive drop off in terms of speed support, official support or official speed when you go to 4 sticks. 4 sticks of 16 gig DIMMs for a total of 64 gigs of RAM across 4 sticks total. The maximum speed is 3600. That is a massive drop in terms of the maximum supported speed. And then if you're going up to 128 gigs of RAM, like I did previously, before I built that 7950X 3D system, maximum supported speed via AMD for 128 gigs is 3600. But realistically, you can still do 4800, and in some cases, if you're lucky, you can do 5200 on 128 gigs. But you have to be like Joey, and you have to win the Silicon Lottery. It will get to the point where it will not boot at all, no matter what you do. You just took about two. What? The Discord link is expired? Uh-oh, hold on. Let me renew it. I've got to find it again. How do I do this? Hold on. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put it in the stream. You might have to refresh the stream because I'm changing the link. So that's why the link did expire. Okay. Okay, I updated the stream. You're probably going to have to refresh the stream to get the new link out of the description. It will get to the point where it will not boot at all, no matter what you do. Mine took about 2 weeks, and I was not overclocking. Your motherboard continued to worsen. Huh. Really? Okay, I think you joined. Yeah, I see. Okay. Who is actually... Okay, anyway, I think we've yeah, I see you joined. So, my name in there is the Acclaimed. So if you look at the mod list, you'll see me and Met Prism in there as the mods. So I'm the Acclaimed in there. So I'm not actually in that general voice chat. You see there's a voice chat with some people in there. I'm not in there, obviously, otherwise you'd be able to hear all of them. But yeah. So anyway, that is the... I guess this is kind of a repeat of what we talked about a couple months ago when we were first talking about RAM on Zen 4. But it'll be interesting to see like what happens with Zen 5. Because I remember anybody who had a Zen 1 CPU, you guys probably remember how hard it was to do anything with like 3200 megahertz DDR4 on Zen 1. So that's kind of like 5600 DDR5, right? So going above 5600 can be somewhat challenging, although it's not as nearly as challenging as it was on trying to go beyond 3200 on Zen 1. So 1600 AF is still going strong. Yeah, but the thing is, the way I see it, Zen 4 and Zen 1 are very... They just remind me of each other. Or Zen 4, memory on Zen 4 reminds me a lot of memory on Zen 1. So I can only imagine when Zen 5 comes out, the memory controller, I think, is going to be one of the things that the engineers at AMD probably put a lot of priority into improving, because they probably were sick and tired of seeing like all these like Raptor Lake CPUs running like, you know, much faster DDR. I still think, though, you're probably going to have to be running Gear 2 mode, just like with the Raptor Lake stuff, if you want to be doing like 64, 66, 7200, etc. on Zen 5. Yeah, it's technically... Yeah. Zen Plus actually did fix a lot of those issues, because I remember so Ryzen 2000 is Zen Plus, and Zen Plus was much easier to do 3200, especially on 4 sticks of RAM. That's what I remember. But Zen 2 is where it really was improved by a lot. Zen 2 was when you could start running like 3600. And then nowadays, with Zen 3, the 5000 series, pretty much everybody was able to do like 3600 if they wanted without any problem. But that's not saying much by today's standards, because 3600 DDR4 is basically DDR5 6000. And you're trying to run DDR5 6000, which is basically like trying to run 3600 on Zen 1. So you get what I'm saying? Like, it's not exactly a guaranteed thing to be able to do that. But that's why it's like, yeah, AMD's official spec is 52, just like how it was kind of like 2666, 2933 back on Zen 1. And then if you were lucky, you could do 32. And just like Joey was saying earlier, like in this case, Joey's able to get 6400 on Gear 1 mode on an MSI Ace. I remember with Zen 1, I could do 3200 only on an Asus Crosshair 6 Hero. I also had an MSI board at one point. I remember trying to do 3200 on the MSI X-Power Titanium, the X370 X-Power Titanium motherboard, and I couldn't get it to run stable on that. Actually, let me go find that motherboard so you guys can see what that looked like. So, let's see. I guess Newegg has it, or it might have it. X670 MSI X-Power Gaming Titanium. Yeah, this thing. Wow, that's like a collector's item now. So this motherboard, I had two. Well, I'll switch it over in a second. Let me find the other one. X370 Crosshair 6 Hero. Yeah, this one. I think that's this one. Yeah. So I had two motherboards at one point. Well, actually, I think I still have both of them. I know I have the Asus one. So if we move this back. Yeah. So when I had Zen 1, I tested two different motherboards. The MSI X370 X-Power Gaming Titanium. That's a mouthful of a name. So, and I kind of like the X-Power branding that MSI used to have. X-Power, by today's standards, is basically godlike, for those that don't know. So this is like the godlike back in the day, in like 2017. So this motherboard, I could not run Zen 1 above 2933. 2933 was the maximum I could do on this board. Now, if I go to this one, the Crosshair 6 Hero from Asus, I could run 3200 on Zen 1 with this motherboard. So it could be done. So just keep that in mind, because remember, if you want to translate these numbers in your head, 3200 DDR4, think 5600 DDR5. So that's like saying I can do, on one motherboard, I can do 5600, but on another motherboard, I'm stuck at like 5200. If that makes sense. DDR5. Okay, so that's kind of why Joey was saying, like, it could be the motherboard. So I'm not saying it's not the motherboard, but that's something to also keep in mind. It could be a motherboard thing. So you're going to have to stability test 5200, test 5600. You basically have to walk it up because, 6000 is not actually guaranteed. It's a combination of the board, the IMC. I'm leaning more on the IMC, but it could also be defective memory too. So that manifests once you start running the Expo profile, because that's going to be more stressful on the actual memory chips from Samsung. So that's going to be that in terms of the like the memory and that sort of thing. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers it. Man, we were going for 3 hours now. So yeah, I would just test the lower speed between 48 to 6000, see what you can do. See how the memory behaves at 52, then try 56, and then see if that works. It's just like Zen 1 all over again. Like that this reminds me of having to troubleshoot or stability test 2933 and then walk it up to 3200. Same exact thing. Yeah, that first gen memory controller. It's It's got to be the first gen memory controller, most likely. I don't think you have defective memory. I could be wrong. It's possible. So, yeah. The nice thing about the platform, though, overall, is you are getting the modern chipset. So you are getting the Gen 5 storage. But B650 is relatively low cost compared to the other stuff, so we'll see. I'm pretty sure like Zen 5 is going to correct a lot of that. It's the natural expectation going forward for the next generation processor. So and it's going to be nice because you're just going to be drop-in socket upgrade at this point. Okay. So I think at this point, this is a pretty good, I think we've reached a good point to end the stream. Unless anybody has any more final, like, questions about memory. I don't even know how, I guess we started talking about this and turned into an entire troubleshooting session about DDR5. But I think it was a good refresher for anyone who has done anything with DDR5. Because it definitely, there is a slight learning curve to DDR5. I think one of the things that makes it easier to understand is knowing what the equivalent DDR4 speed is, and then also understanding the difference between, you know, Zen 1, 2, and 3 and Zen 4. Because Zen 4 is different fundamentally because the fabric clock is asynchronous to the uncore IMC and the memory clock. So with that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Let's see. Yeah, I think that I explained pretty much everything I wanted to say about it. So with that being said, guys, once again, thank you all for tuning in. And I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.